This is Lenny here with Live the Adventure. We've been covering traps and snares this month. We've covered a number of them so far, and now we're going to cover the figure 4 Deadfall. We've covered a number of useful traps. We've covered how to catch fish with a yo-yo, which basically is an automated fishing system so that you don't have to sit there all day and try and catch fish. We've covered the snare, which allows you to set up a trap line and try and catch small animals or even larger animals if you have snares that will work for that. And the next one we're going to cover allows us to catch small rodents or small things like squirrels and stuff as well. So a little bit smaller game, and obviously all these are useful skills. I think the Deadfall, the figure 4 Deadfall is a useful trap because it allows you to use just a knife and to use the wood that you find out here to make your trap. All of these traps and snares have their uses. You don't have to use just one. And definitely this is not every single trap and snare available. But for this course, we are covering just these. They're fairly simple and straightforward and well known that everyone can find and practice these. Maybe in the future we'll try and do more advanced traps and snares and cover ones that maybe are a little less known or a little less used, that we can show how to do those. Anyhow, let's get into this, guys. We're gonna build this figure 4 Deadfall. The important thing is that we find some sticks that are of decent thickness and that can support the weight of the rock which we use as the Deadfall, or the log, or whatever it is you're using. For my instance, I'm going to use a big rock. So I managed to find some dead branches, which are fairly thick, and I think they'll work. The thing you want to look for is things that are straight. There's some really gnarly stuff around here, and that I do not want to get. I've got myself a nice, decent branch here. I want to break this up in 3 different pieces, one which I can stake into the ground, and the other 2 are going to create the trigger using that stabbed piece into the ground. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's get our saw out now. I'm using a saw just so I can keep things nice and neat. So let's do this one here. I'm gonna go southpaw on this one. New term I picked up with some of the subscribers I got and teaching me new vocabulary words. Okay. That'll work. So I'm thinking this is going to be the stake in the ground. I'm not going to do a fairly high trap. If you make the trap too tall, you risk that the animal triggers it, gets the food, the bait, and then gets away. So you want to make sure it's high enough that it's not too low and it's not too high. Just depends what you're trying to catch, you know. So use your noggin and determine, okay, if I want to get a rat, well, rat is yay high, so he doesn't need a whole lot of room to get in there in the first place. So I should make it fairly short there. But if I'm going for something like a squirrel can get pretty big. But again, a squirrel can also crawl into small areas, so. Okay, this one's a little bit curved. So I'm gonna try and get the straightest piece out of this, so. Okay, that's like semi-straight. It may be more than what we need, but considering that I don't know, I need to figure out exactly how much I need. I don't want to cut too much off and then have to find another stick. So for now, we've got the post, which is fairly beefy, and then we've got the 2 other pieces for the trigger. So let's go ahead and make this now. So since I'm going to want to stake this into the ground, I'm going to sharpen both ends, one for staking it and hammering it in, and then the other one is going to be for where we are going to put the trigger. I don't know how to emphasize it enough, but when you're doing woodwork, axes or knives, it's extremely important that you are safe, that you do your best not to endanger your own health, because when you're surviving, that is one of the most important, it's one of the most important things that you can take care of is your health. So if you cut yourself and you get infected, that can lead to some serious issues. So we've got one pointy end here. I need to make the other end as a trigger, so I'm gonna have to make it somewhat semi-flat. Let's go right-handed on it for a bit. Okay, so that's gonna be our top there. Probably gonna have to redo this because as I hammer into the ground, it's going to get somewhat bent. So no biggie though, I can always fix that. So there's our first piece. Okay, so I want to hammer my my post into the ground where I'm going to set this trap up, just so I can kind of get the measurements of where I want to make the notches and things on these other pieces. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So I found this rock here, and it's fairly heavy, not too heavy. Looks like there's just some ants here and whatnot, but I'm gonna try and use this as my deadfall rock. So need to find the right side I want to use. So probably this side right here will be the best, because then when it falls, it goes right down on it. This needs to be a fairly small trap though, so let's go ahead and get the axe so I can hammer this in. I'm going to hammer this one in first to create our post where the trap is going to stay. Let's find a place that doesn't have a rock. Considering this is a fairly small trap, let's say it's for rodents, I'm going to keep it kind of low. So let's see if that's high enough up. So on the side of the snare, we want to make a little area where the trigger is going to kind of rest on. Okay, so trigger is set there, and like I said, we're gonna have to put this on there as well. All right, so now we need to make the spot where the trigger is going to press weight, and we're gonna do that on this one here. So we're going to make an X here to create a, all right, so I've gone and created a little lip there where we can stick our stick. I need to make a small portion here that's kind of removed so I can place it here. Probably something like that, so that we can place weight on this. That'll put weight there, and then weight there. Okay, so let's start by doing this one first. So hopefully I'm explaining this well enough that you guys understand what I'm doing. So I just looked at where that met with the main stake when we make our figure 4. And then now I am making a little notch here where we're going to stick it into, this is going to help to create that trigger that we want. So I want very straight cuts for this, that's why I'm using the saw. So I sawed a little deeper than I wanted to, but I sawed there so I can make that notch, that I can make that area where it's going to rest. So you need to be careful I don't destroy this when I'm removing this excess layer of materials. Okay, Okay, so then after we make that notch there, where we're going to rest it on the spike in the ground, and we've got our little notch there to catch on to the upper portion of the fore. We can double check that this is going to work. So like that. And then the idea is that needs to hold there, so might need to remove a little bit of this. Okay, so that goes right there and then pulls. And this goes into it like so. Just need to make a small little notch at the top of this. So that will be our toggle area there. And here, so where it's going to catch on there. So getting this to all work properly in sync is going to be interesting. So I'm going to shorten this a little bit because it's too much. It's funny when I do it. When I do it right-handed, I want to move the stick with my left hand. Okay, and that'll hold it in place. So I'm going to say about this much needs to be taken off of it to finalize this trap. This is where the rock's going to rest on it. I'm just going to make a little bit of a step here where the rock can sit. And then this one needs a pointy end where we can stick our food. Okay, so let's say that's where we're putting the food. All right, this is probably the hardest part, is setting the trap. Because once you have it built, so trap just failed right there. In order to speed things up, I'm going to use that piece of twine that I have, and I'm just going to use that to fix this, because otherwise I'm going to have to make a new one of these. I'm going to totally wrap the crap out of this, and that should hold. So we've wrapped the crap out of it. So toggle right there, right there. Okay, and there's our trap. It had some failures on the way of getting here, but so animal comes, walks into this, hits this, crushed by the rock. Not the best rock, but for educational purposes, instructional purposes, that's what we're going for. Falls right down on the animal as it grabs it. Figure 4. That's the figure 4 trap. I cut out a lot of the failed attempts at setting this up because it's just really tedious to get everything, the weight and everything just sitting on this perfectly. So I cut those out just so you don't have to watch them. But when you do this, just realize it's a little bit tedious. Just play with it, you'll get it. Anyhow guys, this is Live the Adventure. I've had a really good time filming out here, doing these instructional videos. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys.